News Talk 610 AM and 102.1 FM. KVNU.
KVNU News Time is 4:05. I'm Bill Walter with this news update brought to you by Mount Logan Laundry. A 53-year-old Lewiston man previously convicted of multiple thefts and burglaries is serving more time behind bars for drug possession. Travis Goodwin acknowledged to stumbling since being released from jail last year. Goodwin was sentenced during a virtual hearing in First District this morning. He previously accepted a plea deal, pleading guilty to possession or use of a controlled substance, a Class A misdemeanor. Defense attorney Ryan Holdaway said his client recognized what he had done and cooperated with law enforcement. He asked the court for a shorter sentence so Goodwin can check into a treatment center. Cache County Deputy Attorney Barbara Lackmar expressed hope that Goodwin would take treatment seriously. She noted how in the past he talked a lot about wanting to change but would not follow through. In January 2020, deputies received a report of an individual tampering with mailboxes. Cache County residents claimed they had seen the man driving away in a green Jeep Grand Cherokee in the Smithfield area. Deputies were able to stop a vehicle matching that description in Richmond and took Goodwin into custody. Detectives later learned he was involved in multiple thefts of mail from mailboxes as well as burglarizing at least 2 storage units in North Logan. KVNU News Time is 4:06. KVNU weather for tonight. Slight chance of rain showers after midnight. Low in the mid-40s. Sunny, cooler tomorrow, around 70. And then a slight chance of rain showers Thursday evening, 50% chance of showers on Friday. 78 has been our high temperature so far this afternoon. It's 78 degrees right now at KVNU. KVNU weather brought to you by Cache Valley Hearing and Audiology. Turn life up. Schedule a free hearing evaluation with Dr. Paul Daines at Cache Valley Hearing and Audiology at cachehearing.com. That's cachehearing.com.
Make laundry a snap with the large load washers and dryers at Mount Logan Laundry. Rather than 8 to 10 loads at home, get the job done in 1 or 2 with their 55 or 80-pound washers and 80-pound dryers that are perfect for sleeping bags, comforters, and other big items. Mount Logan Laundry has free Wi-Fi and drop-off service, plus they're open until midnight. Mount Logan Laundry really is the cleanest spot in town. Find them at 5th East and 9th North in Logan or in Brigham City on the corner of 1st East and 7th South.
KVNU News Time is 4:07. Today's Utah Department of Health report lists 4 new COVID-19 deaths, 3 of which occurred prior to April 19th. There have now been 2,275 coronavirus fatalities over the course of the pandemic. New positive cases of coronavirus jumped up to 430 new cases in Utah today. 30 new cases in northern Utah. In 14 months of the pandemic, there have been 403,418 cases in the state. While cases in Cache, Box Elder, and Rich counties, the Bear River Health District totaled 21,772 cases. Since Tuesday, 15,383 vaccine doses were administered statewide. The list of Utahns fully vaccinated has reached 1,134,843. And a traffic accident in Texas has killed 2 missionaries for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints and hospitalized another man. The crash occurred Tuesday morning in Denton, Texas, north of Dallas-Fort Worth. Church spokesman Sam Penrod said they were saddened to share news of the passing of the 2 young missionaries who died in a head-on traffic collision. The missionaries were both assigned to the Texas Fort Worth mission. They were identified as 18-year-old Luke Carter of Springville and 20-year-old Eli Fowler from Pueblo West in Colorado. Penrod said the cause of the accident is being investigated by local law enforcement. KVNU News Time is 4:09. For more details on these and other stories, visit CacheValleyDaily.com.
Stay informed. Stay connected. News Talk KVNU, 610 AM, 102.1 FM, and online at 610kvnu.com.
Do you have a son or daughter who's in high school, or maybe they're attending a university, college, or trade school? What if They decided to start a business right here in Cache Valley. Wouldn't that be cool? Would you shop at their business or use their services? You'd probably tell everyone you know to shop there. Hey, you might even wear a sandwich board or tattoo their business logo on your forehead. Did you know when you and your family shop at locally owned businesses, every dollar you spend returns an average of 300% more money to our community, compared to just 13.6% for big chains, or next to zero if you shop those companies online. Shopping locally creates jobs for you, your neighbor, your family, and it creates tax revenue for our community, parks, police, roads. But don't wait for your son or daughter to start a business. Support local business today. And when your son or daughter opens their business, we'll support them too. See how you can help at CacheValleyMediaGroup.com.
This is Phil with Cache Valley Pharmacy. We love being in Cache Valley and want to thank you for your support. Cache Valley Pharmacy features the best prices in the valley. And as always, free delivery. If you're in the market for prescriptions, check first with Cache Valley Pharmacy for the absolute best prices, especially on compounds and insulin. We've been doing pharmacy better than anyone else in the valley with free delivery valley-wide for the last 19 years. Cache Valley Pharmacy, the pharmacy delivery experts. Order your prescriptions online at CacheValleyPharmacy.com.
Adams Wealth Advisors have helped thousands of people create financial peace of mind. Understanding your family, job, hobbies, and goals is how Adams Wealth Advisors earn the long-term trust of the individuals they proudly serve.
This is Craig Adams. At Adams Wealth Advisors, we're here to help you receive peace of mind, whether you've done a lot of planning or a little planning. Count on our team at Adams Wealth Advisors for honesty, professionalism, and integrity.
Visit AdamsWealthAdvisors.com. That's AdamsWealthAdvisors.com to schedule a time with an advisor today.
If you are looking to build or remodel, go with a company who works with the top custom builders in northern Utah. Chim Chimney offers an array of units from fireplace extraordinaire, including the highest heat output options if you want significant heating potential. Or you can go with the entry-level Pro Builder series. Whatever model you choose, Chim Chimney will work alongside you from planning to installation to move-in ready. That's Chim Chimney in Logan and Brigham City. We sell, service, and install Lopi. Visit us at chimchimney.com.
For the people.
We are waiting with bated breath for news from the Cache Republican Party meeting an executive committee tonight.
With Jason Williams.
And I'm really excited about this next segment. We have two guests here in studio. We're going to talk about something that we've talked about many times here on the show, but from a bit of a different angle.
Weekday afternoons from 4 till 6 on News Talk KVNU, 610 a.m. and 102 FM.
Welcome to KVN News for the People. It is Wednesday, May 19th. I'm Jason Williams. Bill Walter here in the studio with us as well. Got a lot to talk about. The legislature right now in extraordinary session, which is, we'll explain in hour two, something different than special session. Special session played out, wrapped up. They went to lunch. They came back, called themselves, despite the governor's attempt to stop this from happening, into an extraordinary session, and they are currently having one heck of a debate over a couple of resolutions, controversial resolutions, getting some national attention even, and some lawmakers walking off the floor about 40 minutes ago, disgusted with the debate, one told the media. We'll talk about that in hour two of today's show. Also, a list of what lawmakers funded with the American Restoration Act money coming from the federal government, $1.6 billion technically spent today, and we've got a list of everything that got funded, where the money's going to go. Here in hour one, though, it is time for Speak to the Mayor, our monthly segment with Logan City Mayor Holly Daines, 753-5868 if you'd like to join us here. And Mayor Daines, welcome. It's good to see you.
It's always good to be here. Thank you for the invitation.
It's been a busy month since we last spoke. I say that every month, I think, but we were talking just before going live here, just so much going on.
There is a lot going on. You are correct.
Sorry, including my allergies.
It is that season. I was out planting in my yard Monday, and I totally agree.
Just have watery eyes. Can't clear my throat enough. I'll try to be quiet, though. Last night, a big debate during the council meeting over the proposed new location of the 70 fire station. And where did things land? How do you feel about the discussion?
You know, I thought we had a good discussion. Again, this has come up We've been looking at this for, the last year or so, looking at potential sites, because that station is almost 50 years. It was built at a time when they did unreinforced masonry. It has seismic issues. So a few years ago, they did a few retrofits to sort of say, well, okay, people could probably get out, but not necessarily your equipment. Well,
oh, wow.
Right.
That's bad.
Exactly. And that earthquake that happened, a year ago in March down in Magna that rocked us a little bit up here, that was a bit of a wake-up call because, again, we knew that station had issues. And if you have an earthquake, who do you want to be able to respond? Clearly your fire department, and the other really needed responses from your public works department with all their big equipment. We also have a building down on 10th West, this what we call the service center, where we have our shops, various, equipment. We store a lot of equipment there. We park it in there at night. So again, if there happened to be an earthquake when a lot of our heavy equipment was there
and needed, right,
that again, that roof has seismic issues. So we have some engineering studies being done to see what would need to be done to retrofit it and make it safe. We are also applying for a FEMA grant. They have these community preparedness grants. And so, because it's probably a $2 million roof. I mean, it's a huge,
it's a big building.
Yeah, it is a big building. So that is certainly on our list as well. But the fire station is priority number one in terms of getting that rebuilt. And it's just, the restrooms in there are horrible. The crews, and they live there for 24 hours. They're on, a 24-hour shift. We do have, women working at the fire department, and the quarters are such that it doesn't, work well for housing those employees. So it's time. And so we looked at the location, and, we always try to be mindful of the taxpayer dollar. The initial thought was we'd need to spend probably about $5.3 million to build a new station. And so over the past year, we've looked at a variety of sites. Now, we are really constrained by where we can build. Our current fire station is in a perfect spot. And last night at the meeting, Chief showed kind of a heat map showing all the calls, and it is in just the right place for response times. And, they actually rate fire company or fire services. It's called the ISO. What is it? I can't remember the acronym, but it's an insurance company rating.
Oh, sure.
And then your fire insurance for both residential and commercial, more commercial than residential, is based on your rating. And Logan, since Chief Hanig arrived, has gone from a 4 to a 2, 1 being the best. So
basically, your response times are fast enough that insurance companies are dropping rates.
Exactly.
Okay. Exactly.
So, and that's based on response times. It's based on professionalism of your department. If it's full-time versus, a volunteer department. On your training, you have to be well-trained. There are certain standards you have to meet. So we were really pleased to get that rating. And again, our stations are positioned. We have one down by the golf course in the southwest portion of town that and then Station 70 is on 100 North, just east of Main Street, and then one up by the university, the Hillcrest Station. And again, way down the road, it's going to be a while before we grow enough to justify it. There will be one out, somewhere near the airport, out in that northwest portion of town.
As housing grows.
But again, to really achieve those response times to where this station responds to, we have a box, and Chief showed that in a PowerPoint last night, of, about 3 or 4 blocks square is about all.
Wow.
And, our downtown our downtown is developed. There aren't a lot of vacant properties. So then you think, okay, do we buy something and tear it down? And do you have a willing seller, or do you have to, use eminent domain? And, for public safety, you certainly can do that. That's not something we prefer to do. We always try and work with sellers. But the thought was, okay, people are used to the fire station in that area. Let's just move it across the parking lot. And we've had a lot of questions. Well, if that's such a perfect spot, why don't you rebuild in that site? Well, the problem is, what do you do during the year of construction?
Sure. You have to have an operating fire station, right?
Correct.
Somehow.
And you can't store your equipment outside especially during the winter. It doesn't meet, it doesn't function properly.
Sure.
If it's out in the cold. And the question was, could you phase it? Could you tear down part of it, maybe bring in a trailer to house your staff and leave your equipment in the bays? We looked at that and actually got some bids, and it was going to be at least $500,000 more to try and do that. And the kicker was you couldn't really build the station you needed to build. And if you're spending $5.3 million, you want it to be good for the next 50 years.
Sure.
So it just didn't seem to make sense to do it on the site. So it's like, okay, the city owns the whole parking lot. What if we just swap corners? And there's no question it would be a pain during the year of construction. And we'd arrange to rent some additional parking on the north side of 100 or 200 north there.
To offset the
right, to try
temporary.
And offset the temporary.
Okay.
And then eventually the plan was you tear down the station and you put that back in parking. So the net parking would basically be the same. I mean, you'd lose a few here and there, you'd gain a few here and there. So
a swap, really.
Right, a swap, exactly. Because we don't want to affect, we have some great businesses there, and we don't want to affect them negatively. In our opinion, it wouldn't have done that. Well, last night and I've talked to some of the business owners. I went and met with a group of them a couple of weeks ago and, heard, and I do know they have concerns. They have real concerns that, the change in parking would affect their business. So we said, okay, we are going to slow things down. Initially we had asked council if they would approve the funding for the design on the station. And some people thought, well, you've spent all this money to get a rendering and, a site plan. It's like, no, we haven't spent any money at this point.
This has just been
it's a concept,
discussion.
Right,
okay.
Because, how do you even start to have a discussion unless you can say, okay, this is what the parking would be and
sure.
This is what the station, would look like. So we've backed off. We've said, let's slow down a little bit. Let's take we'll come back and we'll show you the properties that we looked at. Again, if we don't own the property, how do we talk about it? Because, if, again, the owner says, well, great, you want this property, the price tag just went up a whole lot.
Sure.
And some aren't willing to sell. So, but we're going to keep working on it and see what other options there are within that, again, that very tight radius of where we need to be for.
You said, again, a 3-block area basically where the fire station would work.
Correct.
Okay.
To really maintain the excellent response times that we have. Because think about it. I mean, if you even go, a few blocks one way, does that affect your call by, 2 to 3 minutes to get, further in the other direction? And, for an EMS call, I mean, 2 minutes can be a long time when
sure.
you're having an emergency.
It goes back to the same concept of, storing things outside. Imagine firefighters having to de-ice their windshields before they could, head off to fight a fire. What does this mean for the fire crews now? Is this, going to be another year of stuck in that same location?
No, it can't be that long.
Okay.
I mean, we need to maybe take another month to look at other options and discuss it, and then we need to move forward. I mean, clearly this is a priority issue. We need to make sure we have adequate public safety, and the factors that really go into looking at where you locate your fire station are call volume, and our station 70 is what we call that one downtown. Mm-hmm. That has by far the biggest call volume of all the stations.
I can imagine.
The high-risk occupancy, again, it's located near a bunch of commercial buildings which have higher value and, can sometimes be more challenging to fight fires. Mm-hmm. Response times are an issue we've talked about, and then the geographical area and distance. So those are the factors you take into account, and then you also try and think about, again, the cost to the taxpayer, because we're always mindful of that. But could we acquire another property? Again, it would be an additional cost to buy that, but maybe we could trade for the fire station property. So at the request of those business owners in the area, we are going to take a little more time, look at that, report back to them and to the city council on the options, and then we'll make the best decision going forward.
Move ahead. All right. An update there from Logan City Mayor Holly Daines here on our Speak to the Mayor segment, our monthly segment with the mayor on Station 70, the downtown fire station. Proposal is to, the need is to move to move the fire crews into a new building. The proposal is to, rather than build on the site where it's located right now, find another location. There was some opposition to that last night at the council meeting. The handbrake has been pulled for the time being. But as Mayor Daines has said, this is a project that has to move forward. Mayor Daines, having recently been in the fire station, I hadn't been in there since I was a kid on a grade school tour, but I was there for I volunteered with the health department when I had some free time recently. It's old. It's tiny. It's
it is.
Cramped quarters, old restrooms. So, yeah. I would like to see, considering what they do, I'd like to see them with a nicer facility. Look forward to seeing where this goes from here.
Exactly. And people, that's why we have public hearings, to get input. So that's the way democracy works, and we listen and we think about it and then hopefully go forward and make the best decision.
Sure. All right. 753-5868 if you'd like to join us. Much more to discuss here with our guest, Logan City Mayor, here on Speak to the Mayor on KVNU's For the People, which continues right after this.
This is Dr. Red, chiropractic physician with Red River Health and Wellness. Are you suffering with fatigue, brain fog, headaches, intestinal issues, weight gain, and you haven't been able to find any answers?
I've constantly been fighting with my weight and thyroid issues for more than 25 years, and none of the doctors in 25 years have ever been able to explain to me what Hashimoto's is, what it means to me, and how to manage it.
Red River Health and Wellness can help you.
Today, my life is like the minute I get out of bed, I hit the ground running. I'm ready to go. I want to see what today is going to bring, what adventures I'm going to have without pain and with all the energy to do everything that I want to do.
Our goal is to teach you and educate you so you know how to manage your condition a lot more effectively, and you know what to do and what not to do for the rest of your life. With our satisfaction guarantee, you have nothing to lose.
Call Red River at 855-55-RIVER to schedule an in-depth consultation absolutely free. All appointments can be done remotely by FaceTime, Skype, or phone.
If you're near retirement or thinking about retiring, you probably have questions. How do you make your savings last? How much should you take out and when? You're ready for retirement, but are your finances? Your Edward Jones financial advisor can help you build a strategy to help your finances keep up with your needs over the long haul. You've done what it takes to get there. Now it's time to make the most of retirement. Visit edwardjones.com or stop by your local Edward Jones office. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
This is Sweetwater Window Cleaning. Now that summer is here, you can reclaim your view back from all that built-up dirt and grime on your windows, letting in light that brightens up the way you feel and makes the whole house seem cleaner. Call us now for the very best results and high-definition views. Mention this ad and we'll remove hard water for free.
Sweetwater Window Cleaning, 3636543, 3636543.
Welcome back to KVNU's For the People. Logan City Mayor Holly Daines, our guest here in studio today. It is Speak to the Mayor here in Hour 1. You're welcome to join us, 753-5868. There's a lot to talk about, Mayor, and I know some big excitement in the city over the recently announced finalizing, finally, of this conservation easement. I know that we got a couple of emails from listeners. We've had these before, but we asked listeners a couple of weeks ago, hey, what's your favorite thing about your city? What's something that's happening? What's something you want us to talk about? And we got a few emails from Logan residents saying, the parks. And one woman emailed and said that it's been a tough year for she and her family. The kids were home from school, or being at home during school most of the year. She was working from home. And she talked about being able to walk down to some of these parks and just stay entertained and then do that on a lunch break even. And she just wanted us to mention that when you were with us next time, that They really appreciate, this family at least really appreciates the, directly from the email, the investment the city has made in keeping these parks nice and even expanding them when possible. So I just wanted to make sure and throw that out. I know there are other areas in the valley without so many options, and some praise from a listener there.
Thank you. That's good to hear. And our staff works really hard. And one thing we're a little concerned about this year, usually our parks are just impeccable. We are still short-staffed. We have not been able to hire the part-time workers that we usually have every year. And
interesting.
Again, they may not get to mowing the parks every week. So I would ask if people, what our unemployment rate is right now. I mean, it's hard to hire workers.
Yeah,
so
it's very
if
low.
you see a little different standard this year, just know that they are trying as hard as they can to keep up. But it may be that maintenance just happens a little less infrequently. But
sure.
But we are working on planning 2 potential new parks. We just had neighborhood meetings to get input. We just announced this 47-acre conservation easement that I am just thrilled about. It is truly a legacy project for our citizens, for the valley.
Many people thought this would never happen, right?
Well, and
I mean, this has been a debate for a while, and
and I told a story at the announcement on Friday, and a while back I sat on the Quality Growth Commission, which is the group at the state level that administers the LaRae McAllister Critical Land Conservation Fund. And the legislature has to fund that every year if they choose. And there are a lot of years that they don't get funding. When I was on there as a council member, they had very little money to work with. So 2 years ago, an email came across my desk from the then county trails planner, who's now gone, moved on. But he said, there is funding in the McAllister Fund. What about a project? And it's like, we have been talking about this piece. Our Parks and Rec director, Rusakina, has been talking with Jeff Kunzler, who has farmed that property for years and years. It's a key piece between, so for those of you that know where Trapper Park is, and then the Trapper Trail, it's between 10th West and 19th West. You go under the bridge there by Icon Fitness, and there's a trail all along the south side of the river.
It's a great trail.
Right, it is. And on the north side of that river has been a piece of property that interests us. And on the Trapper Trail, we simply have an easement through the property. So you can really only stay on the trail. You can't go down to the river and access it. The city can't get into the river. But with this conservation easement, it really follows about 50 feet all the way along the river for that whole section on the north side. So we will be able to extend it. So eventually the plan is to build a trail or build a bridge across from Trapper Park to the north side of the river, and then do trail all along the river section on the south side. So it could be a cool loop if we can get another bridge at the other end eventually, when we can afford to put the trail in.
Very nice.
And the trail will extend a little bit further to the kind of the northwest. And eventually the goal is to get it down to the city owns some property at 600 South and 19th West right along the river. That will eventually be a park. And one other cool thing that the city has done is we've developed a blue trail. We've talked about that before. But we also just got a $200,000 grant from the State Office of Outdoor Recreation, and this was in cooperation with the County Trails Planner, again, a partnership, to put in some landings so you can, and this is for carry-in watercraft. So on the Logan River, you could put in a kayak, a tube, a paddleboard. Eventually we hope to do that from, Stokes Nature Park. There's currently a place you can get in at Rendezvous. We're going to build a take-in or take-out, put in at Trapper, and then on down to 6 South. So that's more than a mile. That is, would that be almost 2 miles of additional river access? It will be 2 additional miles of river access. So
that's
on the north side, we'd like to restore the river so people can get down to it. It will help with flooding mitigation, 2 extra miles of fishing access for the public.
That's pretty significant.
It really
2
is
miles.
significant. So the easement was about $500,000. The family that we worked with The McAllister Fund requires them to put in some funding, so they put in about $96,000. We got about $500,000 from the McAllister Fund, and then through the RAPS grant program that I think everyone's familiar with, both the county applied, so the county was really supportive of this, and we appreciated that. The city applied for some. That was about another, a little over, probably about $350,000, a few other grants. So we basically were able to do this with grant funds.
Interesting.
Yeah, and our staff
especially for
really
a project this large.
Exactly.
That is very cool.
And when it first came, like I say, when I first got the email, I thought, oh, let's apply. And then I looked at the requirements, and it took so much to just fill out an application. You had to get an appraisal. You had to get an environmental stage 1 assessment. You had to get letters from the family. You had to figure out your funding sources. And we only had about 4 weeks to do that. And so we thought, oh, let's try. And then things weren't coming together, and we just said, okay, let's pull the plug. We're not going to get it done this year. But again, they had $2 million, which they hadn't had for a long time. And I kept thinking, oh, we should try. And so we kept making calls, and things fell into place. It was truly a miracle, in my view.
That's very nice.
BioWest could do the environmental. We got an appraiser that could meet the deadline. The family members got, the letters in. So we applied for this 2 years ago and got awarded, and then some things changed with the family, and they had a development opportunity, so we had to revise the requests and redo all the maps. I mean, just the surveying to get the mapping correct, but I guess I did make it a long story. I was going to say the short story was it's done.
It's done.
At least the easement part. Now we have to get the funding to build the trail, but the developer of the property has actually said they'll help us.
Interesting.
But again, it will be a perpetual easement, so always open to the public. Development can never go up to the river.
These are great because that's the purpose of the conservation easement, right? To sort of take some land maybe that's been private for generations and set it aside for public access and conservation, so it's not developed, and to do so at a lower cost in general, right?
Exactly. And, some of the early projects from the fund didn't necessarily have public access, but now they really, if it does have a public component, that gives you a much higher rating. And we had that certainly, for this project. So it was, and they liked that the city and the county cooperated. We had support from our legislators that came out when they did the site visit. Again, fish and wildlife benefits, plus just trail benefits. Lots of good things about it. So
very cool.
I'm thrilled.
It was a big announcement last Friday, right, when this was officially announced, and a pleasure to be able to discuss it here on our show for the first time. The conservation easement, for listeners, if you'd like to see, some actual maps of what we're talking about here, the Logan River Conservation Action Plan is available on the Logan City website, loganutah.org, and it gives you an idea of this Long River Trail network in general and how this new conservation easement will fit into that. So a big announcement, 2 years in the works. 2 years plus for Logan City is officially a done deal.
And we'll be calling it we'll be naming the trail probably in honor of the Kunzler family, who were the longtime owners of this property and again contributed toward the easement. So we call it the Kunzler Conservation Easement. So thanks to the family.
Hats off to the family for putting this land aside for this purpose. Again, the goal of conservation easement is to make land accessible to others. And that's what's going to happen with a significant portion of the trail area there, expanding things out. I'm excited about the 2 additional miles of river access. I know a lot of people will be excited about that. 753-5868 if you'd like to join us. Much more to discuss here with our guest, Logan City Mayor Holly Daines, here for Speak to the Mayor on KVNU's For the People. We'll be back after this look at the news with KVNU's Bill Walter.
Thank you, Jason. KVNU News Time is 4:39. The news is brought to you by the Duck Hunter. A newly released report by the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics has shown more women in the healthcare industry are leaving the profession as a result of the coronavirus pandemic. Fox 13 News reported that women lost more than 1.5 million healthcare jobs across the nation in April 2020, about 12% of all healthcare jobs held by women. Agency officials said about 90% of the nursing workforce in Utah is made up of women. The report attributes the increase in women leaving the industry to child care duties and the stress of working with critically ill patients and seeing death more frequently during the pandemic. Last June, Bridgerland Technical College received a $250,000 grant from the Gene Haas Foundation to create a machining innovation program at the Logan campus. Nearly a year later, the college celebrated with foundation dignitaries, the Cache Chamber of Commerce, faculty, and others for an official ribbon cutting of a remodeled machining technology department, classrooms, and laboratory. The technical college was able to add new 5-axis machines to help train students and prepare them for the best jobs in the manufacturing industry, while also enhancing the school's lab to more accurately function like real-world machine shops. Gene Haas is the originator of specialized machining equipment that is used in almost every machine shop in the country. The Gene Haas Foundation has supported machining education for several decades and has given out over $100 million to enhance and support students in skill development. The one caveat with the $250,000 grant from last June was that it could not be spent specifically on Gene Haas equipment. During the event, the foundation also donated an additional $30,000 in scholarship money to be utilized by students in the machining technology program. The program at Bridgerland Technical College began in 1994 and has steadily grown since then to provide certification to both high school and post-secondary students. KVNU News Time is 4:41.
Did you just build a home or remodel your current home? Well, if so, John at the Duct Hunter says you should have your heating ducts cleaned as soon as possible and change out to a high-quality furnace filter. The dust from construction, sawdust, drywall, and more is sitting in your ductwork. Your furnace filter's probably clogged. You'd be surprised what John has found in air ducts, toys, construction debris, and rodents. Let the Duct Hunter clean the ducts today. Call for a free consultation. The Duct Hunter, 770-4813.
We are the Duct Hunter. Breathe better, save money, protect your home. We are the Duct Hunter.
KVNU weather tonight, slight chance of rain showers after midnight, low in the mid-40s. Sunny and cooler tomorrow, around 70. Slight chance of rain showers Thursday evening, then a 50% chance of showers on Friday. It's been to 79. Right now it's 78 at KVNU. KVNU weather is brought to you by Polylift. Attention homeowners, you may have noticed the ground shift after your foundation has been poured, causing your house to sink or settle. Protect your investment from issues before they happen. Polylift concrete raising and piering will stabilize, lift, and eliminate further settling by using Magnum piering products to save you big money down the road. Call or text 435-999-9309. Polylift is locally owned and operated. For more details on these and other stories, visit CacheValleyDaily.com. Let's check Wall Street now with Edward Jones.
This is Senior Branch Office Administrator Monique Benson bringing you the daily financial market report for May 19th on behalf of financial advisor Daryl Arnell and Edward Jones. U.S. equities closed lower today. The Dow closed down 163 points at 33,897. The Nasdaq closed down 4 points at 13,300, and the S&P 500 closed down 12 points at 4,116. In stocks of local interest, Home Depot closed down $2.30 to $314.45. Lowe's Companies closed down $2.03 to $190.72. Nucor was down $1.94 to $101.53. R.R. Donnelley was up 27 cents to $5.44. Thermo Fisher was up $2.34 to $456.95. Zions Bank was down 83 cents to $57.42. And Northrop Grumman was up $2.28 to $370.90. In the commodity markets, the price of crude oil was down $2.21 to $63.29, and the spot price of gold was up $3 to $1,871. This has been the Daily Financial Market Report for May 19th, brought to you on behalf of Edward Jones, member SIPC, serving individual investors with personalized attention and financial advice with offices in Providence, Logan, and Smithfield. Daily commentary is also located on our website at edwardjones.com.
Installing a metal roof has never been easier with the help of the folks at Metal Mart. Conveniently located in Lehigh and Logan, Metal Mart's sales force is ready to help you with metal roofing. Metal roofing adds immediate value to any roofing project. Whether it's a home, cabin, barn, or shed, you'll find great selection and value at Metal Mart. And metal roofing panels aren't just for roofs. These long-lasting panels are great for fences, siding panels, garden boxes, wall decor panels, interior wall panels, and so much more. With a selection to fit anyone's budget, you'll love the value you get when you install metal roofing from Metal Mart. So no matter if you're building a chicken coop or your dream home, Metal Mart has an amazing roofing solution for you. Call today and let Metal Mart help put a roofing package together that's perfect for you. Call today in Logan at 435-363-9001 and see why Metal Mart is everyone's metal store. Visit us online at metalmart.biz. Ask about our great selection of steel purlins as well. Save money. Call Metal Mart today.
This is for those who always show they care, who told their kids everyone 12 and older is eligible for a COVID vaccine. Those who explain to their cousins that vaccines prevent nearly 100% of hospitalizations and deaths from COVID-19. This is for the ones protecting those they love. Thank you.
We can do this. Find vaccines near you at vaccines.gov, paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Welcome back to KVN News for the People. It is Speak to the Mayor, our monthly segment here on For the People with Logan City Mayor Holly Daines. 753-5868 if you'd like to join us. We've covered the debate and proposal over moving the fire station that was discussed at City Council last night. The big announcement last Friday from Logan City that finalizing this project for a conservation easement, working with a local family, working with a developer, working with some creative funding through grant processes and more to expand trails and provide more river access here in Logan with conservation easement that protects the land for future generations. And we still have a lot to get to. It's, I joked with your administrator, Teresa Harris, when she emails each month and said, are we good for this day? And I replied and said, yes, looking forward to it. So much going on in Logan right now. And she replied and said, yes, there is. It has been, there's a lot of activity. And some of this is forced on the city by, growth, by changes that are just inevitable, roads that somehow erupt every spring as the frost sets out. But a lot of this is working on finishing some long time projects that have been on the table for years. It's you're seeing things kind of come together, especially with downtown.
Exactly, and that was one thing I campaigned on. That was one of my goals, was to help revitalize downtown, and I think we have done a tremendous amount to sort of push that along. And initially, we've had growth, but I think our discussion, we did Center Street, and then we also started talking about the center block development. And as we all know, that's evolved, and it didn't happen exactly the way we first proposed, but we have a great plaza underway.
Sure.
I think that sent a message to people that we do want people downtown. We are going to invest in downtown. We want housing downtown. We want things that will attract our citizens and benefit them downtown so they have a reason to come downtown and make it a vital, pedestrian-friendly, vibrant place. And
You're starting to see downtown businesses absorb this, I think.
Exactly.
I've heard, these are rumors, so I won't get specific, but I've heard a lot of rumors about things that developers and businesses currently located in downtown are pondering for the future.
Right.
How they might change their own business and how they might use space in a different way. All of it, though, seems to be this mindset that there are going to be a lot more people down here on weekend nights, on the average weeknight. That is a result, I think, of some of these changes.
Exactly. We just had another project approved, in the last couple of weeks on 100 South. For those of you that drive 100
sure.
South, you have the Logan's Heroes stores on Main Street and then the beautiful new housing development on what used to be V1, kind of right there across from the high school. And in between, there were a pile of ruins. I mean, it was left from when the historic Thatcher Mill burned down, almost 80 years ago.
Sure.
And, there was only the foundation left, and that has continued to crumble over the years. Trees going up through it. It was a graffiti magnet. I mean, it was always covered with graffiti. And the developers that were doing Mill Creek were interested in also, expanding to that property right there in the middle of the block. But it was classified as a historic ruin and was part of the historic district. So we needed to go through the Historic Preservation Committee. And initially the thought was, well, could you utilize that? That would be ideal if you could make the ruins into part of your development. But as the engineers looked at it, structurally it just was not sound. You would have had to take the walls down and rebuild, which was very expensive and kind of defeats the purpose. So
no longer a historic ruin at that point, right?
Exactly.
It's a new ruin.
Right. So, they've gone through several iterations, and the city has helped them through the redevelopment agency. Again, that's what the point is, to redevelop properties that are blighted or need help. So,
and that whole area was just kind of a little bit of a jungle with some old buildings and not a lot of activity there for several years, right?
Exactly. And, there's an old flue from the mill that really is very unstable where the water crashed down. So it looks like the plan now is to move that front section of canal back to its original stream bed, kind of behind the property.
Oh, interesting.
And then part of what they pledged to do to the Historic Preservation Commission was to use some kind of a water feature and then use some of the stones from the ruins to memorialize the mill and to tell the story, to have some kind of a historic marker to let people know how that was a key area for flour milling way back, and the river was so important. Again, the ideal would have been, to somehow preserve that, but it's such a small piece of property that to have the ruins right in the middle, you would have had to have two separate buildings for your housing. Connecting them would have been problematic.
I see.
It literally would have added $500,000 to the project. And at what point they came to the RDA and said, well, would the city like to cover that? And you have to say, well, maybe that's not the best use of our limited RDA funds. So the ruins will be coming down. They have a permit approval to do that, but a beautiful new, development. They'll continue on the current development to the east, and should be a nice improvement to 100 South. We'll be able to put sidewalk all the way along that street.
Oh, that will be welcome.
Right now, it's there is no sidewalk on part of a street. It's kind of dangerous for pedestrians if they try and get along there. So
even sometimes as the high school lets out.
Exactly, as you have theater goers from the Eccles Theater there coming out that south side. So again, I think that will be a really nice improvement, get people downtown, because if they live there, they come out in the evenings and they patronize the businesses in the evenings. So the businesses want to stay open after, 5 or 6 p.m. And there is some nightlife and restaurants. And, we understand there are a couple of new restaurants and entrepreneurs that are working about putting more restaurants on Center Street and downtown. And
those are the rumors I'm hearing, and I'm excited for some of them to be true.
Exactly. And what people need to know is a cluster will draw people. And I think some are worried about competition. What does that do to my business? But again, the experts on downtown and on these plazas say people want kind of this nucleus. They want activity, and then it will really benefit everyone and kind of have a ripple effect in a positive way.
And, for people curious about this, some evidence of this type of thinking working, Salt Lake City closed a large section of street during the pandemic, and they've now decided to make this a permanent summer thing. The reason they're doing that, though, is that, Salt Lake's downtown is very different than Logan's downtown, but that was the only way they could give people some space downtown. Not the case with downtown Logan. Mm-hmm. Plenty of sidewalk space there. And so, but what they found is this benefited every downtown business, just having a place for people to walk and maybe sit at a bench or something like that. It's fascinating, really. 753-5868. We do have a caller on the line and a short amount of time to get to it, so get to the caller's question here, and maybe we can answer it on the other side. Go ahead. Who is this?
Yeah, you were talking about the conservation easement there along the riverfront, and I do have one concern with that kind of thing.
Okay.
Are we thinking about doing some public education for litter and whatnot up there? Every time I've hiked that trail, I've hauled out bags of trash.
It's a great question. This is our good friend Mitch here on the line. Mitch, appreciate the question. Be patient with us. Let us take our last break here, and the mayor can answer on the other side.
Do you have a son or daughter who's in high school, or maybe they're attending a university, college, or trade school? What if they decided to start a business right here in Cache Valley? Wouldn't that be cool? Would you shop at their business or use their services? You'd probably tell everyone you know to shop there. Hey, you might even wear a sandwich board or tattoo their business logo on your forehead. Did you know when you and your family shop at locally owned businesses, every dollar you spend returns an average of 300% more money to our community, compared to just 13.6% for big chains, or next to zero if you shop those companies online. Shopping locally creates jobs for you, your neighbor, your family, and it creates tax revenue for our community, parks, police, roads. But don't wait for your son or daughter to start a business. Support local business today. And when your son or daughter opens their business, we'll support them too. See how you can help at CacheValleyMediaGroup.com.
Hey, it's Al Lewis. Happy spring. I love this beautiful weather, but if you struggle with CPAP, you may not be getting the sleep you need to go outside and enjoy it. Fortunately, now there's Inspire, a sleep apnea treatment that works inside your body with just the click of a remote. That's right, a button. No mask, no hose, just sleep. Learn more at InspireSleep.com. Inspire is not for everyone. Talk to your doctor to see if it's right for you. And review important safety information at InspireSleep.com.
Welcome back to KVN News for the People. Just 3 more minutes here with our guest, Logan City Mayor Holly Daines, on Speak to the Mayor, our segment each month with the mayor. And a caller with a question. Mitch, before the break there, wanted to know, as this project on First South and many others, as more people are downtown, as there's more walking downtown, he was concerned about some of the ramifications of that: litter, trash, people not being responsible, things like that. Is the city working on some messaging, some public education along those lines with that in consideration?
Exactly, and I think he was referring along the trails. And thank you for being the one to haul out the trash.
Sure.
That is certainly your good deed, and we appreciate people who are willing to do that and set an example for others. We're always trying to educate people, and maybe we need some more trash receptacles along there and so on. But yes, it's only courteous, it's only kind. Haul out your stuff, pick up your trash, and again, we should work on trying to. We shouldn't have to educate people on that topic. It should be self-evident, but I know what you're saying, and thank you for being a good citizen and helping out.
That is, Mitch is a frequent caller, and he's a good guy. And so same for me, Mitch. Thanks for carrying out the trash that you didn't even bring in. This has been a pleasure to have you here in the studio again. We covered a lot of ground, but I know there were some things we didn't get to still. But you'll be back with us next month. Maybe we can get to them then.
I'm always happy to come back. Thank you for the invitation.
Well, I appreciate you making the time, and I know our listeners do as well. To our listeners, appreciate your questions and comments. And that is our time this month with Logan City Mayor Holly Daines. Coming up on the other side in hour 2, the legislature in special session today, followed by an extraordinary session, something that was just announced this morning. What's this all about? Why did some lawmakers actually walk off the floor this afternoon in, as one lawmaker told Fox 13 News, disgust? We'll talk about it all, as well as what lawmakers funded today. $1.6 billion spent technically by the legislature, which came from the federal government. Where's it all going? We've got the list. That's coming up in hour 2 of today's show right after this here on KVNU Logan.
In Washington, when it's happening on Wall Street.
That's the reason why we're going to continue, because I believe there is a cause here.
News Talk KVNU Logan.